Children of the crow, the Wusun. The raven circled over the helpless child, and the call of the bird was heard. Nearby, behind a mountain stream, there was a slight rustle. A grey shadow flashed, and the still gaze of green eyes appeared among the foliage. It was a she-wolf. The enemies attacked the Wusun steppe, killed the father, left the baby to die in the steppe, and then they came to feed the she-wolf and the raven. An ancient legend about the origin of the Wusun tribe, which for a long time lived on the territory of the Semirechye. The Wusun are representatives of the culture that, in general, dominated here. Crows and wolves, myths and reality. Kamchatka kuth and Capitoline wolf, Takla Makan desert, and Semirechye. Where do the traces of the bird lead? To the Wusun, children of the crow. The totem of the Wusun was a raven. They were the people of the crow. It so happened that many tribes from Asia turned out to be in Europe. The city itself is located in the Wusun settlement. Chapter 1, Mythical Progenitor. The Wusun ruler is called Gunmo. When UAG was attacked, his newborn son was abandoned. A raven with meat in his beak flew over it, and the she-wolf fed him milk. The king of the Huns marveled at this and considered the child to be supernatural, and so raised him. Chinese historian Issyk-Kul. UAG, the Greeks called them Assyr. Some scholars call them Asotochas. Presumably they were of Indo-European origin. They lived in the area of the Chinese province of Gansu. Next to the Wusuns, around the 3rd century BC, the Huns attacked the lands of the UAG, and then they attacked the Wusuns. The Wusun, in search of allies, went to the north to Mongolia, to the Huns. As soon as they got their strength back in alliance with the Huns, they were able to defeat their enemies. The abandoned child, according to the Chinese chronicles, when he grew up, broke the UAG with the help of the Huns, and he made a feast bowl from the head of the ruler. The crow are those Wusun who came from China, breaking the UAG. This is exactly the Wusun vendetta when this boy avenged the death of his father. He grew up as a warrior, grew up to become the head of the Wusun state. Plateau Assi in Semirechye. Perhaps the toponym is precisely preserved in memory of the ancient UAG tribes, but there is another version. Linguist, for example, Drozdov, associated the Wusun with Arsis. Arsis, a very ancient Turkic ethnonym. Perhaps even the geographic name Asia means the country of the Arsis. In Central Asia, the Arsis participated in the formation of the Wusuns. For the ethnonym Wusun consists of the original ethnonyms Ars and Sion. These are the Arsis of the Huns, Murfat Sakiev, deep ethnic roots of the Turkic peoples. When the Wusun ambassadors arrived in the palace of the Han ruler, they called themselves Hussars. Here again, this syllable AC, as, Ha-Sahi, is present, and in general, it was their self-name according to the Chinese sources. Well, this is the word Kazakh. By the way, the Kazakhs of the Senior Jus have a tribe called the Sari Wusun. It originated from the original Wusuns. There are such tribes as the Wusun among the Kazakhs, and the Kyrgyz and among the Uzbeks. Almaty Central State Museum, ritual incense burner, dated to the 5th century BC, presumably of Saka period. At the edge of this dish there are 16 leopards. In the center is the sacrificial goat. Around it there is a scene of torment. It's surrounded by wolves and ravens.
Сцена терзания, вокруг него стоят волки и вороны.
In Sax mythology, as in most others, the raven as a rule accompanies a person on the way to death. He acts as a guide. In many nations, crows are not very positive birds, associated with dark forces, etc.
Ну, не совсем позитивные, да, связанные там с темными силами и так далее.
The bright side of this mysterious bird in mythology is not common, and how the raven became the progenitor of the Wusun tribe is unclear. Few people have studied this topic comprehensively until today, and yet there is a little light. According to Turkic legends, the raven gave people souls. It is among the northern peoples. Kuth, he created the world, and he himself became a man. The original inhabitant of Kamchatka call themselves the children of the crow, one of the earliest mentions of the Sumerian epic in Gilgamesh. This is the myth of the flood, where the crow shows people the way to salvation. Could all these legends be related? Chapter 2. What's in a name? Wushi means the generation of the crow. The presence of the crows as a tribal totem in ancient Wusun is undoubted. According to legend, the forefathers of the Wusun were a crow and a wolf. There is a crow on the Wusun symbol, Yuri Zuev, on the ethnic history of the Wusuns. Their origin is tied up as the children of the crow who lived on the banks of the Crow's River, Ushi-U. In Chinese, it is the Crow River.
По-китайски это Воронья река.
And allegedly, the name of the tribe also has Chinese origin. But researcher Malik Yesperi thinks otherwise. In the Turkic tradition, it's impossible to take the name of a tribe from another people. And here the Kazakh word fits very well, ush, ushu, which means in Kazakh to fly, for example like a bird, ush.
Казахское слово уш, уши, летать, то есть птица, уш.
The free interpretation of the Wusun legend is a fusion of two tribes whose symbols were a wolf and a raven. Only historians still argue who exactly were these nations. It's also possible that the legend emphasizes the connection between the Huns who saved the Wusun boy. This shed lights both on the origin of the Wusuns and on their connection with the Hunnic ethnos. The appearance of the Huns tribes dates back to deep antiquity, and all historical and geographical threads lead to the territory of the Chinese Ordos, Yuri Zuev, on the ethnic history of the Wusuns. In the 3rd and 4th century BC, in Ordos there were nomadic tribes united under the common name Huns. Scientists believe that the Wusuns were related to the Huns and a Turkic kinship and a common language existed. Interestingly, the legend of the origin of the Wusuns has much in common with the later legend about the origin of the ruling clan of the Turks, Ashina. There is also the she-wolf who nursed the baby, and this boy was a Hun, but the crow was gone. The Turkic Khaganate created 500 Ashina families. Ashina, this is precisely this Asov branch of the Wusun Union. Wusuns look different from others. Nowadays, the Turks with blue eyes and red beards are the descendants of them. Chinese chronicle of Issyk-Kul. And one more wolf, Capitoline, Ram, and Romulus. The Etruscans by birth are the ones she fed, and then they were those who founded the eternal city, Rome. I think the Capitoline she-wolf has a connection with the Wusun she-wolf. Subsequently, this is a Turkic wolf. It's most likely she speaks of some kind of continuity between the Etruscans, the Sumerians, and before them the Turks. It seems that the paths of the ancients are inscrutable. Chapter 3. Genetic Tangle. Urumqi Museum, one of the most sensational archaeological finds of the 20th century. Tarim mummies, found in the desert of Takla, Makan. This woman lived 1,800 years ago. The mysterious people of Central Asia, alien people, and they say about them in Chinese legends. Perhaps these were the tribes that came from the territory of East Kazakhstan and the Siberian part of Russia. The woman's hair was braided into 4 braids. It is said these are the ancestors of the Wusun. Chinese scientists conducted a genetic analysis comparing the DNA of Kazakhs from the Wusun tribe with the DNA of the Tarim mummies, and they found the connection. This is quite an ancient period when they had not yet formed nor the limits of certain tribal unions, and there was still a mixture of tribes, clans, etc.
Племенных союзов и существовало еще смешение племен, родов и так далее.
Scientists talk about several stages of Wusun migration, but how these migrations took place is not exactly clear. In Semirechye, the Wusuns appear in the 50s of the 3rd century BC. Semirechye was the land of the Sakis. UAGs expelled the Saka prince and began to live in his lands. Subsequently, the Wusun Gonmo defeated the UAG. They moved to the west and the Gonmo began to live here. Chinese chronicler Zhang Jian. It's hard to imagine that all the people get up and leave, just adopted a new name, and in principle we do not know how they called themselves. But their external counterparts called them the name of the dominant stratum, which became the Wusuns. Presumably, the Wusuns of the Semirechye are a mixture of tribes, the Saki, UAG, and actually the Wusun themselves, the researchers believe. They dominated this union, so they gave the name of the state Wusuns. Therefore, they gave the pre-Turkic language and naturally all customs. Any state arises on the basis of numerous previous processes, including ethnic, political, social, economic, and cultural. And it's believed that the state of the Wusun was founded in the Semirechye in 177 BC. The center was the Ili Valley, but the exact boundaries of this country are not known. Here is the barrow we dug by hand, and here we found the ring fences we assumed, but this refers to the Wusun era. East Kazakhstan Shilik-T archaeological expedition. We somehow got used to the fact that the Wusuns lived only between Balkhash and Issyk-Kul in Shetzu, the 7 rivers. It turns out that their culture reached East Kazakhstan up to Saizan. And in the 3rd century AD, another great migration begins. According to sources, the Huns go west, and with them, part of the Wusuns. Hungarians have a very famous dynasty, Hunyadi. They had a raven on their coat of arms. This is such an ancient Hunnish race.
На гербе был ворон изображен. Это вот такой древний гунский род.
Hunyadi royal emblem, a raven with a gold ring in its beak. Epilogue: where do the traces of the crow lead? Wusun's nomad camps occupied the flat part in Semirechye. The population was determined to be 630,000 souls. The Wusuns could put up 188,800 soldiers. Vasily Bartold, Essays on the People of Semirechye. Almaty. One of the Wusun settlements was located in the territory of the city. And it was not by chance that in 1855 it was here that they founded the settlement of Verny. Why was it called Verny? It means truth. There was already a place. There was an irrigation system already working, and the whole fortification was ready. They came to a new place, but it was already used in antiquity, and they called it Verny. Now, walking along the streets of Almaty, you can still see the Wusun barrows, traces of the crow's children.